Good evening. I'm Jane Williams. I'm the Executive Director of California Communities Against Toxics. And if you guys don't mind, I'd actually like to talk to everybody without my back to them. Okay, so this is now over the 5th year that we have been here in this community, and we started. My colleagues, Cynthia and Robina, can you guys stand? Felipe, can you stand? These are some of my colleagues. John, these are Robina Sewell from California Safe Schools, Cynthia Babbage from the Del Amo Action Committee, Felipe Aguirre, John Serrano from Pro Uno. Thank you. So these are some of the leaders of the environmental justice movement in Los Angeles, and they have their own community problems. They're dealing with the largest Superfund site in Los Angeles County. They're dealing with Exide, and California Safe Schools works on school issues all across the county. And these folks have been here now with us for half a decade, working on problems in Paramount, specifically Carlton Forge, but other facilities. So I just wanted to let you know that we started because we got calls from teachers at Lincoln Elementary that a number of children there were sick with cancer or had died from cancer in the previous number of years. And they called and asked for our help. And so we came here and we actually did a very unique study, and that is that we took hair samples from both children and adults that lived in Paramount. And what we found was very, very alarming. We had very high levels of nickel, hexchrome, and some other metals. And we took these to the regulatory agencies at the time, over 5 years ago now, and very few people responded to that. Then we went out and we did another study, and we looked at dust samples in people's attics, and we looked at soil samples in people's yards of people that lived around Carlton Forge, and we found, again, high levels of metals. And I do want to praise AQMD, because we put this information in front of all the regulatory agencies, and actually AQMD is the only agency that responded. And that's actually how we got the multi-metal monitor across the street from Carlton Forge. And it's the first multi-metal monitor in California, for sure, and maybe even in the country. It was a pilot at the time. And that is now why we're all here today, because of that multi-metal monitor that was monitoring metals specifically from Carlton Forge and at Lincoln Elementary, it started picking up excess hexchrome levels. So I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of historic background on that this problem in this community is not something that just occurred. It's been occurring, okay? And from the statistics that we have, you have one of the largest childhood cancer rates in the state of California. We have 16 children that have contracted cancer in Paramount over the last 8 years. Very, very high levels. So when I tell this to epidemiologists, they think that I'm wrong somehow until I give them the kids, what schools they went to, and their ages. So I just want to impress upon the community and the agencies and everyone who's working on this problem that I hope everyone has skin in the game. Because there's a real cost to the inaction that has occurred in the past, and an action that could occur in the future. There's a huge cost to your community, and it's the worst possible cost. Now, there's not really any way for us to keep track of the epidemiological impacts of these excess emissions on adult health, but certainly the elevated level of childhood cancer here in Paramount is very, very alarming to those of us that work on these issues and look at these issues. So I also want to praise the agency, because as frustrating as it is that it has taken so long to get action, this is an unprecedented monitoring effort. I can tell you that absolutely. I've been involved in many community monitoring efforts, and the hexchrome monitoring effort that's happening in Paramount right now is absolutely unprecedented. However, it is telling us that we have an unprecedented problem, and that the levels of this very, very toxic, highly dangerous metal are way too high in your community. And that, number one, we may not understand what all the sources of hexavalent chromium are, and number two, we need to do a lot more to reduce those. And I also want to emphasize and take the agency to task a little bit. These spikes that you see when you look at the monitoring data Although that spike may not be a problem, what we see in the epidemiological base of this community with too many children contracting cancer and dying, we know that those spikes are a problem because they indicate that facilities are emitting during startup, shutdown, malfunction, or something else, too much chromium. So it's indicative of a larger problem. So I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of historical background on what other environmental justice leaders here in Los Angeles County have done to try to help the community at Paramount. And you have some great leaders here in your community now, and I really urge you and encourage you to support them in their local efforts and to stay involved. And I also urge our community partners, our other partners, the county, DTSC, ARB's been involved. We want to praise those efforts, and we want to really get our heads together on what are these sources. Are there sources that we don't know about, that we should know about, meaning other parts of the industrial process, or are there other sources that we have yet to identify, or, it's like we have modern, my son has an iPhone and he can find out almost any piece of information in the world, and we've got to be able to figure out where these hexavalent chromium emissions are coming from, even if it takes all of us working together, and we have to do everything we can to reduce them. So thank you so much. I just want to praise the agency. They've been doing a wonderful job with the monitoring, and we hope that we see more enforcement activity and that we see a lot more monitoring inside these facilities. So before we sort of walk away from Paramount and say we think we know what the problem is and we think we have solved it, that we really know that. Because it's taken us half a decade to get to where we are. So thank you very much.